Making this beanie for me was a complete game changer. The reason being it is made using Tunisian crochet from the top down. Normally you do Tunisian crochet beanies from the bottom up. Top down you can get a nicely domed crown. And most importantly, the beanie fits perfectly because it is easy to judge the height and the width and adjust appropriately. This video will be a very easy step-by-step guide how to make this beanie using a series of increases from the top and finishing off with a back loop only single crochet US terminology ribbed brim. And this is a lovely warm beanie that only took a few hours to make using this lovely cottage spun King Cole 100% acrylic yarn. The hook size recommended is 6mm, but because this is Tunisian crochet, I am using a 14-inch long 8mm Tunisian crochet hook. The first thing to do is to create a Tunisian crochet foundation row, and I am making a foundation row of 8, so I need to chain 8. Now there are 8 chains I am going to cast on the easy way, and the link about how to do that is above. There were 8 chains, now there will be 8 loops on the hook. Now do a return pass, chaining 1, and mark the space at the end of the row. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops all the way along the row until the end, until there is just 1 loop left on the hook. And here we have a Tunisian crochet foundation row of 8. I am now doubling the stitch count to 16. The stitch on the hook is the first stitch. Second stitch is a full stitch into the space between the first and second set of vertical bars. The next stitch is a simple stitch, the stitch after that is a full stitch into the next empty space, then a simple stitch, and so on until the marked space at the end of the row is reached. If I put the last stitch into the marked space at the end of the row, then the loop count would only be 15, so I have to create 1 more loop, and that is by inserting the hook between the 2 vertical bars right at the end of the row and pulling up a loop. And now just check there are 16 loops on the hook. Chain 1, mark the space at the end of the row, and then do a normal return pass. Now increase to 24 by doing 1 full stitch between every other simple stitch. The loop on the hook counts as the first stitch, so second stitch is a full stitch and the third stitch is a simple stitch. Skip the next space. Now do a simple stitch, then a full stitch, then a simple stitch, skip the next space, simple stitch, full stitch, simple stitch, etc. all the way along the row to the end. With the last stitch being into the marked space at the end of the row. Check the number of loops on the hook, there should be 24. chain 1 and then do a normal Tunisian crochet return pass. And at this stage you can see that the dome of the beanie is starting to take shape. The next forward pass is going to be an increase to 32, and that is 2 simple stitches followed by a full stitch and then another simple stitch. The loop on the hook is the first simple stitch. Now for the second simple stitch, now a full stitch, and then a simple stitch. So that is an increase of 1. Now a simple stitch, another simple stitch, a full stitch, and a simple stitch. And continue like this to the end of the row, where the last stitch will be into the marked space. Check the number of loops on the hook, there should be 32. Chain 1, mark the space at the end of the row, then do a normal Tunisian crochet return pass until there is 1 loop left on the hook. The next forward pass is increasing to 40 by doing 3 simple stitches, 1 full stitch and then another simple stitch. The loop on the hook is the first simple stitch. Now do another simple stitch. Now another simple stitch, a full stitch, a simple stitch, and that has increased 4 stitches to 5 stitches. 3 simple stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches a full stitch, that's 4, 5th stitch is a simple stitch, 5. And continue with 3 simple stitches, 1 full stitch, another simple stitch until the last stitch into the marked space at the end of the row. Check there are 40 loops on the hook. And then a normal return pass until there is 1 loop left on the hook. The next forward pass is an increase to 48 by doing 4 simple stitches, 1 full stitch and another simple stitch. The loop on the hook is the first stitch, second stitch is a simple stitch, third stitch is a simple stitch, fourth stitch is a simple stitch, now a full stitch, then a simple stitch. So we have now increased from 5 to 6, and continue with 4 simple stitches, 1 full stitch and 1 simple stitch until the end of the row where the last stitch is into the marked space. Now check the number of loops on the hook, there should be 48. Chain 1, mark the space at the end of the row and then do a normal return pass until there is one loop left on the hook. For the next forward pass there are no increases, so this will be one simple stitch into each stitch until the last stitch into the marked space at the end of the row. Check the number of loops on the hook and then do a normal Tunisian crochet return pass. Until there is one loop left on the hook. And at this stage the radius of the beanie dome can be measured. As you can see, it is 3 inches and I want a radius of 3.5 inches for a large beanie for an adult male head. The next forward pass is an increase to 56 by doing 5 simple stitches, 1 full stitch and another simple stitch. This is the first simple stitch, second simple stitch, third simple stitch, fourth simple stitch, fifth simple stitch. Now for a full stitch, followed by a simple stitch. So by adding 1 full stitch I have increased the stitch count from 6 to 7. So, and continue with 5 simple stitches, 1 full stitch and 1 simple stitch until the end of the row where the last stitch will be into the marked space. There are 56 loops on the hook, and then do a normal return pass. Chain 1, mark the space at the end of the row, and continue with a normal return pass until there is 1 loop left on the hook. At this stage, check for size, and the radius is 3.5 inches, and that is a diameter of 7 inches. That will produce a circumference of 22 inches that will fit a large adult male head nicely. So now there are no more increases, so continue with normal forward passes of Tunisian crochet simple stitch and return passes until the fabric is of the required length, and I'm aiming for around 7 inches so that I can add a 2-inch ribbed brim. Now the height of the beanie is 7 inches from top to bottom. I am going to switch from Tunisian crochet to ordinary crochet using a 6mm crochet hook to do a back loop only single crochet rib. And for that I'm going to chain 7, the 7th chain is the turning chain, and now work down the chain doing single crochets, the UK equivalent being double crochets. I think it is important to mark the bottom of the chain, that is the 6th chain, to build up the rib properly. Now do a slip stitch into the next 2 front vertical bars. So this is the first front vertical bar, yarn over, pull through both loops. So this is the first slip stitch. Now for the second slip stitch into the next vertical bar, yarn over, pull the yarn through both loops, turn the work, and then do a single crochet into the back loop of the bottom of the chain that is marked with the working yarn at the back of the hook. Then mark the single crochet that has been placed into the bottom back loop. And continue working single crochets into the back loops to the top. At this stage it is worth checking the height of the beanie. I want a beanie that is 9 inches from bottom to top that will cover the ears. If all is well, then chain 1, turn the work, and continue working single crochets into the back loops to the chain that is marked at the bottom. Keeping an eye on the stitch count, and the stitch count for this chain is 6. Move the marker to the bottom chain of the rib. Slip stitch into the next 2 vertical bars and continue building the rib until the other edge of the beanie is reached. And this is the rib completed. So at this stage, secure the loop at the bottom of the rib, turn the fabric inside out, check that the edges line up, so they can be joined together. My preference is to slip stitch from top to bottom. I think it's always worth slip stitching the brim at least, because that creates an invisible finish. The short tail of yarn at the top of the beanie can be used to cinch the top. I'm slip stitching the edges of the rib of the beanie together, and will continue slip stitching all the way to the top. That way the beanie can be checked for size, and if alterations need to be made, it is easy to undo slip stitches to rectify any problems. This is the slip stitched brim with a nice invisible seam. I slip stitched all the way up to the top and cinched the hole closed with a short tail of yarn. Of course you can always use blanket stitch or whip stitch to join the seam. That can be a bit of trial and error to achieve the best cosmetic result. And here is the completed top-down Tunisian crochet simple stitch domed beanie that fits perfectly. The whole project took just a few hours, and I managed to get 2 beanies out of 150 gram ball of cottage spun yarn.